We've got women here who are homeless, and we have women here who have a trust fund. What brings them together and is a consistent factor is they're desperate for help. The Next Door got its start because my church in the heart of downtown Nashville had a building that they bought. So we had a wild group of praying women, we called ourselves, and we just got this burden to utilize that building for good. And so we knew to pray, and we knew to go and ask the experts in the community what the needs were, because quite frankly, we did not know. And over again, we just heard that there were gaps in the services for women. Women that were coming through very difficult situations, specifically what happens when a woman comes out of incarceration. And that's how the Next Door got started. We could be the next door. We could pick women up at their gate of their crisis. When they're coming out of the system, we could bring them to a place in which, by God's grace and mercy, life could be different.
The Next Door is hope. The Next Door is hope for any person who walks through the door. It's difficult to walk through the front doors of the Next Door and say, I want to do something different for my life, even though I've been doing this same thing for 15 years. That's hard. But every day, they never cease to amaze me. They come in the door and they want to do something different. They want to change their lives.
And here at the Next Door, we work with them to work on those deep, repressed feelings or traumas or situations that they have buried for many years, some of them. And they all get individual counseling and group counseling each evening. The women don't want to keep using. So addiction, treating that brain disease and knowing what keeps bringing you back to that, that life doesn't have to be, continued like that.
I came from an abusive home life with an abusive mother and an alcoholic father. When I got in my teenage years, I started experimenting with drugs and alcohol. Made a lot of bad choices, in and out of prison, struggled with addiction for probably well over 30 years.
Janie is one of the sweetest spirits you'll probably meet. Janie was so quiet when she came into our program, very mild.
Met with me every week, had counseling every week, had case management every week, had a self-esteem class. That's where they taught me how to look in the mirror and tell myself I love me until I believed it. And I can look myself in the mirror today. And you know what? I love the woman I see. I love the woman I see. I'm bound and determined to be that person God created me to be.
My story starts out as being abandoned when I was just a baby by my mother. I went from home to home for a couple of years until eventually I ran away. The things that had happened to me through my childhood, which are the most impressionable years, had scarred me beyond recognition of a normal person. Finally, one day I was sitting in the crack house and I had all kinds of drugs around me, everything that an addict would want. But I had really had enough, and I begged God. I said, Lord, please either save me or let me die. And I prayed that prayer a few times, and I was serious, and I was in tears, and the next thing you know, I was being arrested for a felony for selling a little bit of those drugs to someone. So I begged them for help, and I met a girl in the jail who had a brochure from the Next Door.
When I first met Tammy, she came into the Next Door wanting a difference. I could see that she was ready to make those decisions in her life, and she wasn't going to let anything stop her.
And instead of being released back onto the streets where I would have probably died, I was brought to Nashville to the Next Door, and it saved my life in more ways than one.
I know that I was knocking on death's door. I had no more chances left before I came here, and that's why I sought help through the Next Door. I know there was a God working to enable me to get the help that I needed and to end up where I'm at today.
Sherry was a gem from the moment I met her. Every day you could just see the change happening in her every day, every day.
I was given a bag that had every toiletry that a woman could ever need, entering a place to actually stay for an indefinite amount of time. And in there was a Jesus Calling, recovery Bible, and lots of things that you would need to start all over. And coming from where I came from, I had lost all those things.
Jesus Calling is very applicable for the women and for the staff because it kind of meets you where you are. That book can meet you on any journey you're on at any point in time, and how when you pick it up and read it for that day, you can take a word, a sentence, or all of it and apply it to your life. And the women say that often, that, you know, this hit home, and many of them start their day with reading Jesus Calling.
It's been foundational to who we are, and it's a beautiful tool. It's a tool to drive people to the Lord, and that's what we're about.
This was the first thing they ever gave me, was my Jesus Calling book. It's dated November the 8th, right inside. And this has got me through. As you can see, it's a little worn because I still use it today.
So I used to be so hard on myself. And I've always felt like when I would read Jesus Calling, I'm like, God, how do you know? How do you know what I think? How did Sarah Young, when she wrote this, knew that one day I was going to pick this up? It was going to help me in my walk in life and my walk with the Lord.
Find in me the stability for which you have yearned. Every person on the planet faces gaping jaws of uncertainty. The only antidote to this poisonous threat is drawing closer to me. In my presence, you can face uncertainty with perfect peace. That's my absolute favorite. I love it.
So since I graduated the next door, I immediately enrolled in college. I graduated with my Associate of Arts degree from Nashville State last year. Graduated summa cum laude, got me one of the very first scholarships that Tennessee State University ever handed out. So I will be graduating Tennessee State University next fall with my Bachelor's of Science in Social Work. I still have a 4.0 GPA, and I still read my Jesus Calling every day, and my life is completely different. If you knew me even 4 years ago and knowing me today, I'm not at all the same person. And what's amazing about that is that I was that same person for over 40 years. And everything that I wish I would have done many years ago or had the opportunity to do, I'm doing it now. And you know, the Bible verse that says the Lord will restore He said He'll restore the years the locusts have eaten. And He did.